I am hearing too much doom and gloom. But everything that has happened thus far proves that you will decide whether America chooses fascism or freedom. Every few generations, we must be reminded that it is we who hold the power and it is we who get stuff done. Unfortunately, the indoctrination we all received at birth, for too many, freezes our actions and causes us to acquiesce to the least powerful or deserving. We give undeserved, unadulterated power to political leaders who claim it, and to a wealthy class who assume it. We should and must not. The bunch attempting a fascist takeover isn't brilliant. The defects in our Constitution and government structure would have made it easier to do so if these individuals were more competent or astute. I have examined the structural defects of our purported three co-equal branches of government and the Constitution. The founders made it flexible because they believed only good, wealthy men would hold these positions. As such, when the masses rebelled against them, a form of benevolent constitutional authoritarianism could be temporarily enabled. Unfortunately, we elected an unclassy thug into office. What Trump and his ilk are doing is neither novel nor ingenious, heightening the fears of everyone to divide and conquer. Every economic system are governed by math, and ours is working as designed. Unfortunately, it is at its endpoint where most will be in an antiseptic form of indentured servitude. Work to survive, but own nothing. This is the point at which people begin to revolt against their leaders. But they can buy more time if they use heightened fears to have the masses fight among themselves instead of at the designers of the offending system. Here is a reality. Race is a stupid concept, but in a racialized society from its inception, we must buttress our discussions within that construct. I was so impressed with a very young TikToker. I urge everyone to watch. Many of us are well aware of it, but she expresses it so well. America will remain a white country for the foreseeable future. All of the stories you read about the browning of America do not understand that whiteness is not skin color, but a flexible social construct to maintain power in the hands of the 1%. In effect, racism is but a tool the 1% must use to stay in control. That has been true from the country's inception. Adjustments will be made as necessary to ensure the survival of that 1% class whose wealth you could not even fathom. We have learned to endure an economic system that has booms and recessions. The reality is that it is a failed system. One can be built where there are never recessions, but that is beyond the scope of this article. It is sufficient to say that it would affect the 1%, and as such, until we restructure the economic system, it won't happen. The problem is that the current system has hollowed out most of the others, minorities, and unseen whites living in rural areas in Appalachia. Structurally, the systemic portion of our failed economic system is now reaching those who thought they were protected. As this occurs, the leaders and the wealthy are investing in the systematic control of our realities by heightening the fears specifically of white people. DEI, replacement theory, gender issues, and more are used to trigger good people to do bad things as the survival mechanism within the brain activates. One feels a duty to support those aiding one's survival. The Powell memo made it clear that the wealthy class had to infiltrate churches, schools, colleges, universities, the media, and books, lest they lose their power. This has been a multi-decade project that many of us in the independent media have been highlighting for a long time. We are now at that dreaded inflection point. Am I scared to death that we have reached the point of no return? Absolutely not. This morning, a dear friend and a woman who is not sitting on her laurels told me she needed my optimism. I do not need to say much to prove that we make a difference. However, I must first make a statement of fact before explaining why we, the masses, should be optimistic. This current lurch towards autocracy has proven that spineless cowards populate our governing and wealthy classes. The fact that Republicans are made to do things against their orthodoxy and that billionaires succumb proves that. But this should not be surprising. Most of the rich's wealth was not earned through their intellect, service, or production, but rather through an economic system that allows them to reap excessive profits from the work of others. That reality means that they are not anathema to autocracy if it will enable that status quo. This is hard to hear given our indoctrination. It is something we frequently cover on my Politics Done Right program. A small, rabid, fearful, but reliable voting group empowers the president who he must continue to lie to maintain their angst and support. South Korea's wannabe autocrat, former President Yoon Suk Yeol, was stopped by a combination of resilient democratic institutions and immediate widespread public backlash after he declared martial law in December 2024. The move, widely seen as an attempted self-coup, was overturned in a matter of hours. Corporations will migrate to where they feel the power lies. As the masses rebelled against the attempt to arrest free speech at ABC by neutering Jimmy Kimmel, Disney reevaluated when the people spoke. The people were more powerful than the president. Republican policies will erode MAGA conservative Republican vote when Democrats and progressive activists incessantly engage and tie their angst to the policies, as opposed to allowing Trump and his sycophants falsely blame immigrants, DEI, etc. Thousands of protests every day in the country, though not televised, are making inroads. The president and Republicans are very unpopular. While the Democratic Party is unpopular as well, the values Americans are protesting for are in line with what the Democratic Party claims they support, but have articulated poorly. Progressives are intent on activating in every community to inform, enlighten, and deprogram those indoctrinated by the effective propaganda from the billionaires and other wealthy parasites. Billionaires, mega millionaires, and evil political leaders cower easily. It is up to us. They must fear us more than they fear the inept and evil ones. At that point, we will elect the correct ones, and they will act on our behalf. And that time is not far away if we choose the proper path. Many of us have been working on this project for a long time, building an alternative media infrastructure to convey the message of action and empowerment to as many people as possible, reaching every corner of the country. Even though we do it at a fraction of the cost of mainstream media, including activation, engagement, opinion formation, and more for individual journalists, it's not only time-consuming, but also expensive. Corporations and the wealthy fund the mainstream media to attract your ears and eyeballs. You fund us. Please become a paid subscriber today. Paid subscribers are entitled to numerous benefits.